There is a silence in your life right now that feels heavy enough to crush bone. You have prayed, you have fasted, and you have done the work that was asked of you, yet the heavens seem to have turned to brass. You look at the timeline of your life and you see a gap, a chasm between the promise you feel in your spirit and the reality you wake up to every morning. It is the ache of the delay. It is the confusion of the pause. You are standing in the hallway of your own life, waiting for a door to open that has been locked for years, and the only sound you hear is the echo of your own questions. Why is it taking so long? If God is good, and if He has the power to bless, why does He withhold? You watch others move forward while you seem anchored in place. You see the wicked prosper while you, trying to be righteous, are left in the shadows of obscurity. This is not just a test of your patience. It is a siege against your faith. But listen closely, because what you are experiencing is not a rejection. It is not an oversight. You are currently walking the same path that every prophet, every seer, and every sanctified soul has walked before you. You are in the refiner's waiting room. Joseph Smith knew the silence. He knew the agony of the delay better than almost any man who has walked the earth in these latter days. He understood that there is a spiritual law governing the timing of heaven, a law that often looks like abandonment to the mortal eye but looks like consecration to the eye of faith. You must understand the nature of the ground you are standing on. You think you are standing in a barren desert, but you are actually standing in a garden in winter. The difference is invisible on the surface, but underneath, everything is happening. When Joseph Smith was first visited by the light in the sacred grove, he was a mere boy. The vision was absolute. The clarity was blinding. He knew what he saw, but then the heavens closed. For 3 years there was silence. No angels, no voices, no plates, just the ridicule of his neighbors and the confusion of his own maturing mind. Imagine the psychological weight of that. He had touched the infinite, and then he was left to hoe the field, to cut the timber, to deal with the mundane struggles of poverty and adolescence. Why did God make him wait? Why not give him the plates the very next day? Because a 14-year-old boy cannot carry the weight of a dispensation. The vessel was not yet ready for the wine. If God had given Joseph the fullness of his mission the day after the first vision, Joseph would have been crushed by it. The delay was not a denial of the vision. It was the construction of the prophet. You are in that 3-year silence. You have had moments of clarity in your past, moments where you knew who you were and what you were meant to do. And now you are in the gap. You are in the years of labor and silence. But you must realize that God is not ignoring you. He is letting your roots grow deep enough to hold the weight of the fruit He is about to place on your branches. Consider the prison temple. Liberty Jail. It was the darkest hole in Joseph's life. Cold, filthy, surrounded by enemies, his people driven from their homes, his family suffering. It was the ultimate delay. The work of the restoration had come to a grinding, agonizing halt. From the perspective of the world, it was over. It was a failure. Joseph cried out, "O God, where art thou? And where is the pavilion that covereth thy hiding place?" It is the same cry that sits in your throat today. How long, O Lord? How long must I struggle with this illness? How long must I remain single? How long must I worry about money? How long until my child returns? But look at what happened in that silence. In that delay, in that pause where God seemed absent, the heavens were actually crafting the deepest doctrines of the church. Sections 121, 122, and 123 of the Doctrine and Covenants did not come from a pulpit. They came from a dungeon. They came because Joseph was forced to stop. He was forced to sit in the darkness until his spiritual eyes adjusted to a light that cannot be seen in the comfort of the sun. The delay of his freedom was the acceleration of his revelation. If Joseph had been released immediately, we would not understand the nature of priesthood, the nature of suffering, or the nature of dominion. Your delay is doing the same for you. The blessing you are screaming for might be delayed because God is using the want of it to carve a capacity into your soul that the possession of it could never create. The principle of the fullness of times is not just about history. It is about your personal history. There is a specific fullness of time for your life. God lives in the eternal now, seeing the end from the beginning. He sees the intersection of your readiness and the world's need. You see only the want. You are like a child asking for a knife to cut an apple, but the parent withholds it, not because he doesn't want the child to have the apple, but because he knows the child's hand is not steady enough to hold the blade without injury. Joseph had to wait 4 years from the time he saw the plates of gold until he was allowed to take them home. Every year on the same day, he had to go to the hill, meet the angel Moroni, and be told, "Not yet." Imagine the frustration. The plates were right there. He could see them. He could likely touch the stone box. He knew they were the key to the work. But the angel said, "Not yet." Why? Because Joseph's heart still had elements of the world in it. He thought, perhaps fleetingly, of the financial worth of the gold. He thought of the relief it could bring to his family's poverty. He had to be purified of the desire for the gold so he could be trusted with the word. The delay was the purification. If you are waiting for a blessing, ask yourself, why am I asking for this? Is it for my glory or God's? Is it to ease my life or to build his kingdom? Sometimes the delay lasts exactly as long as it takes for your motives to shift from selfish to consecrated. We must speak of the pruning. There is a violence to the delay that feels like punishment. When a gardener prunes a tree, he cuts away live wood. He cuts away growth that looks healthy to the untrained eye. It looks like he is killing the tree. He strips it back until it looks naked and vulnerable. Joseph's life was a constant pruning. He built a city in Kirtland and it fell apart. He built a community in Missouri and they were driven out by mobs. He built a temple and had to abandon it. From the outside, it looked like a cycle of failure. It looked like God wasn't keeping his promises. But with every cut, the root system grew stronger. With every delay in establishing Zion, the people were forced to become Zion in their hearts because they couldn't find it on a map. You are being pruned. The relationship that ended, the job that was lost, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers. These are not accidents. They are the shears of the gardener. He is cutting you back because he intends to grow something in you that is too heavy for your current branches. He is delaying the harvest so that the harvest can be greater. If you got what you wanted right now, you would stop growing. You would settle for the good, and God wants to give you the godlike. He is not interested in your comfort. He is interested in your exaltation. And exaltation requires a capacity to endure that is only forged in the fires of waiting. Think of the march of Zion's camp. Hundreds of men, led by the prophet, marching nearly 1,000 miles to redeem the land of Zion, to take back the homes of the saints. They marched with high hopes. They marched with the promise of victory. They suffered blisters, hunger, thirst, and disease. And when they finally arrived, the Lord told them to stop. He told them to turn around. No battle, no redemption of land, no victory. They had to walk all the way back. Can you imagine the murmuring? Why did we do this? Why did we suffer for nothing? Why did God delay the redemption of Zion? It seemed like a cosmic joke. But listen to what Joseph said later. He said that God did not want the land, he wanted the men. He used the march, the delay, the pointless suffering, to sift the hearts of the men. From that group of men who marched and waited and failed, God chose the first quorum of the 12 apostles and the first quorum of the 70. The delay of the victory was the screening process for the leadership. You are on a march right now. You are walking 1,000 miles for a result you cannot see. You feel like you are walking for nothing. But God is watching how you walk. He is watching how you treat your fellow travelers when the water runs out. He is watching what you say in your tent when the prophet is silent. The blessing you are marching toward is not the land. It is the becoming. The delay is the test of your character. Who are you when you don't get what you want? That is who you really are. There is a spiritual physics to timing that we often ignore. We treat prayer like a vending machine, insert righteousness, extract blessing. But God treats prayer like agriculture. There are seasons. There are times to plant and times to harvest, and you cannot harvest in the spring no matter how hard you pray. Joseph Smith taught that there is a time appointed for every purpose. When the saints tried to establish the kingdom before the time was right, they were scourged. Not because the kingdom was bad, but because the timing was wrong. You might be asking for a righteous thing. You might be asking for a holy thing. But if you are asking for it in the wrong season, the answer must be wait. The cold of winter is necessary for the seed to crack open. The heat of summer is necessary for the fruit to sweeten. You cannot rush the seasons of your soul. You might feel ready, but God sees the hidden frost that is still in your heart. He sees the storms that are gathering on the horizon that you are unaware of. He is holding you in the harbor because he knows the hurricane is coming. You are banging on the locked door of the boathouse, screaming to be let out onto the open sea, not knowing that God is leaning against the other side of the door, holding it shut to save your life. The delay is not a punishment. It is a protection. Let us go deeper into the silence of the translation. Remember the 116 pages. Joseph yielded to the pressure of Martin Harris. He wanted to end the delay. He wanted to prove to the world that he was doing something real. He wanted to speed up the process of belief. And what happened? The work was stolen. The progress was halted. The gift was taken. Joseph was left in a darkness deeper than he had ever known. He lost the ability to translate. He lost the closeness of the Spirit. He learned the hard way that you cannot rush the hand of God. When you try to force the timing, when you try to bypass the delay through your own manipulation or by yielding to the pressure of others, you lose the ground you have gained. You have to start over. The delay is there to teach you strict obedience. It is there to teach you that God's way is the only way. After the repentance, after the long, agonizing wait to have the Urim and Thummim returned, Joseph was different. He was no longer a boy trying to please men. He was a prophet trying to please God. The delay and the failure caused by rushing solidified his integrity. You might be tempted to cut corners to get your blessing. You might be tempted to compromise your standards to end the loneliness. You might be tempted to take a path that is not the covenant path because it looks faster. Do not do it. The shortcut is a trap. The delay is the highway. Stay on the road, even if it feels like you are not moving. There is a mystery in the phrase, "it must needs be." Joseph often used this language. It must needs be that there is an opposition. It must needs be that offenses come. This implies a necessity, a requirement of the universe. The delay is a necessity. It is the weight that builds the muscle. If you look at the construction of the Nauvoo temple, it was built in poverty. It was built with a trowel in one hand and a musket in the other. Took years of sacrifice. And just as it was finished, they had to leave it. Why? Why let them build it just to abandon it? Because the temple was not just a building of stone. It was a building of people. The sacrifice required to build it, the patience required to see stone laid upon stone while enemies raged around them, that process sanctified the people. It made them a temple-worthy people. If angels had come down and built the temple in a night, the saints would have entered it as tourists, not as kings and priests. The labor creates the ownership. The waiting creates the value. What you obtain too easily, you esteem too lightly. God delays the blessing so that when it comes, you will cherish it with a holiness that ensures you will never let it go. He is increasing the value of the gift by increasing the price of the wait. You are paying for your blessing right now with the currency of your patience. Do not stop paying. The price is high because the glory is heavy. Consider the solitude of the prophet. Joseph was surrounded by thousands of followers, yet he was often the loneliest man in the world. He said, "No man knows my history. I cannot tell it. I shall never undertake it." He carried burdens that he could not share with his wife, his brother, or his counselors. He had to wait for the world to catch up to what he saw. He had to wait for his own friends to understand the visions that were plain to him. This is a specific kind of delay, the delay of being understood. You may feel this. You may feel like you are speaking a language no one around you speaks. You feel isolated in your trials, isolated in your insights. You are waiting for connection, waiting for someone to see you. But this solitude is the school of prophets. It forces you to turn your conversation upward. If you had perfect understanding from those around you, you would rely on them. But when you are misunderstood, when you are delayed in finding your tribe, you are forced to make God your best friend. You are forced to anchor your identity in the heavens because the earth offers you no reflection. Joseph became the friend of God because he had no peer on earth. Your loneliness is an invitation to a divine friendship. The delay in human connection is the acceleration of divine connection. The darkness is always thickest just before the dawn. This is not just a poetic phrase. It is a spiritual reality. When Joseph was in the grove, right before the pillar of light appeared, he was seized by a power of darkness so intense, he felt he was doomed to sudden destruction. He felt his tongue bound. He felt the presence of actual evil. It was the moment of maximum resistance. Why did the enemy attack then? Because the enemy knew what was coming next. The resistance was proof of the proximity of the miracle. If you are feeling an intensification of your struggle right now, if the delay feels like it is turning into despair, if the weight feels unbearable, lift up your head. The intensity of the opposition is a signal that the breakthrough is imminent. The enemy does not waste ammunition on empty targets. He does not attack those who are going nowhere. The fact that you are facing a wall that seems unclimbable is evidence that something is on the other side of that wall that terrifies the adversary. The delay is not a sign that God has stopped working. The struggle is a sign that the delivery is in process. You are in the labor pains. The pain is not death. The pain is birth. Do not give up in the transition. Do not walk away 5 minutes before the miracle. Joseph held on in the darkness until the light appeared. You must do the same. You must learn to trust the architect. When they were building the Kirtland Temple, they did not have the money. They did not have the materials. They did not have the know-how. But Joseph said, "The Lord will provide." He did not say when. He did not say how. He just knew the who. Trust is not knowing the timeline. Trust is knowing the timekeeper. The delay is designed to shift your trust from the calendar to the Creator. If you knew exactly when your trial would end, if an angel appeared and said, "On November 12th of next year, your pain will stop," you would not need faith. You would just need endurance. You would just watch the clock. But faith is walking in the dark. Faith is trusting His heart when you cannot see His hand. Joseph Smith lived his whole life on the edge of the precipice, trusting that the ground would appear beneath his feet as he stepped. And it always did. Not always when he wanted it, not always how he wanted it, but it always appeared. God is never late. He is rarely early, but He is never late. The Red Sea did not part a week before Israel got there. Parted when their feet touched the water. The delay is sustained until the very last moment to maximize the glory of the deliverance and the growth of your soul. There is a concept of sanctified waiting. This is not passive waiting. It is not sitting on the couch wishing things were different. It is active, consecrated waiting. It is doing the work while the horizon is empty. It is Joseph preaching the gospel while in chains. It is the saints planting crops in Nauvoo knowing they might not eat the harvest. It is the act of living as if the blessing has already come. When you can praise God in the hallway, you unlock the door. When you can thank Him for the answer before it arrives, you demonstrate a faith that commands the elements. Joseph taught that faith is a principle of power. It is an energy. Your frustration is a low-energy vibration. Your trust is a high-energy vibration. To end the delay, you must align your frequency with the blessing you seek. You must become the person who already has it. You must find peace in the present moment, even if the present moment is painful. Peace be unto thy soul. Thine adversity and thine afflictions shall be but a small moment. That was the whisper to Joseph in the jail. A small moment. From the perspective of eternity, your 10-year wait is a blink of an eye. It is a breath. Do not trade your eternity for a moment of relief. Do not sell your birthright for a mess of pottage. Ultimately, the purpose of the delay is to make you like Him. God is a being of infinite patience. He waits for us. He waits for us to repent. He waits for us to listen. He waits for us to come home. He has waited eons for His children to return. When you are forced to wait, you are tasting a drop of the cup that God drinks from every day. You are learning the divine attribute of long-suffering. It is a godlike quality. Joseph Smith became a godlike man because he suffered long. He bore all things, believed all things, hoped all things, endured all things. You are being invited into that same fraternity. The fraternity of the delayed. The sorority of the waiting. It is a holy order. The members of this order are the ones who have deeper eyes and softer hearts. They are the ones who know that the dawn always comes. They are the ones who do not panic when the sun goes down. So here is the instruction for your soul today. Stop fighting the pause. Stop beating your hands against the wall. Lean into the silence. Ask God, what are you trying to build in me during this quiet? Instead of asking, when will this end? Ask, who must I become? Consecrate your waiting. Tell the Lord, I will wait on thee. I will not move until the cloud moves. I will not run faster than I have strength. I will stand still and see the salvation of God. When you reach that point of surrender, when you let go of the timeline, a strange thing happens. The anxiety lifts. The fear evaporates. You find a peace that passes understanding. You realize that you are not waiting for a thing. You are walking with a person. And as long as you are with him, the timing doesn't matter. The wilderness is just as holy as the promised land if God is there with you. Joseph found God in the jail and it became a temple. You can find God in your delay and it will become your sanctuary. Hold on. The vision is for an appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it. Because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Your Joseph moment is coming. The light will break the trees. The chains will fall. The door will open. And when it does, you will look back at the long, dark night and you will say, thank you. Thank you for the wait. Because without it, I would not be who I am. You are being prepared for a weight of glory. Stand tall in the silence. Your calling is being forged in the dark. We must examine the texture of this waiting. It is gritty. It is not the smooth waiting of a man sitting in a comfortable chair. It is the waiting of a soldier in a trench. It is active, vigilant, and often painful. Joseph Smith's life was a masterclass in this grit. Consider the sheer volume of litigation, false accusations, and betrayals he faced. There was a period where he spent months hiding in the swamps and woods around Nauvoo to avoid illegal arrest. He was the mayor, the general, the prophet, yet he was sleeping on the ground, separated from his wife and children, hunted like an animal. Why? Why would God allow his anointed to be humiliated? Why not strike down the enemies with a bolt of lightning? Because God was establishing a pattern for us. He was showing us that authority does not exempt us from adversity. In fact, authority attracts adversity. The delay of justice in Joseph's life was a testament to the fact that this world is not our home. If we received perfect justice here, if we received every blessing instantly here, we would put down our roots in this fallen soil. We would fall in love with Babylon. The delays, the injustices, the pains, they are reminders to keep our eyes on the city of God. They keep us from getting too comfortable in the inn when we are meant to be journeying to the palace. There is also a profound lesson in the silence of the Comforter. Sometimes not only are the blessings delayed, but the feeling of the Spirit seems to withdraw. Joseph felt this. The heavens were as brass. This is the most terrifying part of the delay. It is one thing to wait for a job. It is another to wait for God's voice. But this withdrawal is often a test of maturity. When you teach a child to walk, you hold their hands. But eventually you have to let go. You have to step back. You have to let them wobble. You have to let them take a step on their own. If you held them forever, they would never learn balance. God withdraws his immediate, overwhelming presence sometimes to see if you can walk by memory. Can you walk by the light you received yesterday? Can you be faithful to the last command even when the new command hasn't come? Joseph had to learn to lead the church by principle, not just by constant dictation. He had to learn wisdom. You are in the wobble. God has stepped back not to abandon you, but to see if you have internalized the lessons of the past. He is watching you with bated breath, cheering you on, but he knows he cannot carry you forever if you are to become like him. The silence is your graduation exam. Let us look at the gathering. The saints were told to gather to Zion. They came by the thousands from England, from Scandinavia, from the islands of the sea. They left everything. They expected to arrive in a paradise. Instead, they arrived in a swamp. Nauvoo was a malarial marsh. People were dying. They had no houses. They had no food. It was a disaster. Imagine the cognitive dissonance. God told us to come here. We obeyed. And now we are dying. The blessing of Zion was delayed by the reality of the physical world. They had to drain the swamp. They had to dig the ditches. They had to cut the trees. They had to build the brickyards. God did not snap his fingers and create a city. He let them build it. He delayed the city beautiful until they created it with their own hands. This is the law of co-creation. God wants to bless you, but he wants to do it with you, not just for you. He is delaying the finished product because he wants you to have the joy of the construction. If he gave you the finished life, you would be a tenant. But because you have to sweat for it, wait for it, and build it, you become an heir. The delay is the invitation to pick up a shovel. It is the call to co-create your own miracle. Think of the prophecy of the Civil War. Joseph received the revelation on war in 1832. He saw the destruction that was coming to America. He warned the people. But the war didn't happen in 1832. It didn't happen in 1842. It didn't happen in 1852. Joseph died in 1844. For decades, his critics laughed. They called him a false prophet. Where is this war you spoke of? Where is the calamity? The delay of the fulfillment was used as a weapon against his character. But then, 1861 came, and every word was fulfilled to the letter. God's timing is not subject to our news cycles. A prophecy can hang in the air for a generation before it lands. The delay of the fulfillment does not invalidate the truth of the promise. You may have received personal revelation years ago. You may have had a patriarchal blessing that promised you things that seem impossible now given your age or circumstances. The critics in your mind or the actual critics in your life might be mocking you. Where is it? You made it up. You were deluded. But remember the war prophecy. The word of the Lord does not return unto him void. It accomplishes that which he pleases. It may skip a generation. It may happen in a way you didn't expect. But it will happen. The delay is not a lie. The delay is simply the time it takes for the chess pieces of the universe to move into position. Hold on to the promise, even when the calendar says it's too late. There is a purifying fire in the concept of lonely representation. Joseph often had to stand alone in his testimony. Even the 3 witnesses, who saw the angel, eventually faltered and struggled. Joseph had to carry the keys alone. There is a time in your delay where you will feel like you are the only one who still believes in your dream. Your family might tell you to move on. Your friends might tell you to be realistic. This is the test of the pioneer. A pioneer is someone who goes before the road is built. You are pioneering your own life. You are cutting a trail through the wilderness of your circumstances. Of course it is lonely. Of course it is slow. You are cutting through bedrock. But the road you build will be used by others. Your delay, your struggle, your eventual victory will become a map for your children and your children's children. You are not just waiting for yourself. You are waiting for your lineage. You are breaking generational chains. And breaking chains takes time, takes heat, takes pressure. Do not resent the magnitude of the task. The size of the delay is proportional to the size of the destiny. Let's return to the concept of the trial of your faith, mentioned by Peter and reiterated by Joseph. The trial is more precious than gold. Why? Because gold perishes. Gold can be stolen. But a faith that has survived the furnace of delay is indestructible. It becomes a part of your eternal substance. When you stand before God, you will not bring your car, your house, or your bank account. You will bring your character. You will bring the patience you forged in the waiting room. You will bring the trust you built in the dark. These are the only things you can take with you. So, in a very real sense, the delay is the blessing. The waiting is the treasure hunt. You are gathering eternal wealth every day you hold on. You are banking fire. You are accruing glory. Stop looking at the empty hands of your mortal circumstances and start looking at the full heart of your spiritual development. You are rich in potential, rich in endurance. rich in the specific kind of wisdom that only comes from weeping through the night and still praising God in the morning. Joseph Smith's life ended at 38 years old. From a worldly perspective, it was cut short. It was a life of interrupted plans. He never saw the saints settled in the West. He never saw the Salt Lake Temple. He never saw the global church. He saw only the struggle. He saw only the beginning. But he saw it with the eye of faith. He knew that he had done his part. He knew that the timing of the harvest was not his concern. Only the sowing of the seed was his duty. You may not see the full fruition of your labors in the way you expect. You may plant shade trees you will never sit under. But that is the nature of a consecrated life. We plant. God gives the increase. The delay in the harvest is simply a reminder that the field is larger than our vision. So you who are weary, you who are tired of the silence, you who feel the crushing weight of time passing you by, listen to the voice from the dust. Listen to the boy who became a prophet. He would tell you that the vision is real. He would tell you that the plates are there, hidden in the hill, waiting for the right moment. He would tell you that the angel is watching. He would tell you that your current frustration is the raw material of your future glory. Do not drop the burden. Do not walk away from the altar. The fire is about to fall. The delay is almost over. The preparation is almost complete. You have been hollowed out so you can be filled up. You have been silenced so you can hear the trumpet. You have been stopped so you can be redirected. Trust the God of the pause. He is the same God who created the stars. He knows how to tell time. He knows your name. He knows your need. And He is coming. In the end, we must speak of the oil in the lamp. The parable of the 10 virgins is a parable of delay. The bridegroom tarried. He was late. He didn't come when they expected. And in that delay, the difference between the wise and the foolish was revealed. The foolish had enough oil for the expected timeline. They had enough faith for a short trial. But they did not have the reserves for the delay. The wise had oil in their vessels with their lamps. They had a reserve. The delay is the test of your reserves. It reveals how deep your conversion actually goes. Is your faith dependent on immediate results? Or is it a deep well, fed by hidden springs of personal revelation? Joseph Smith had reserves. When he was tarred and feathered, he preached a sermon the next day. That is reserve. When he was betrayed by his closest friends, he extended a hand of mercy. That is reserve. The delay is forcing you to dig a well. It is forcing you to stop relying on surface water and tap into the aquifer of the atonement. You need a testimony that can survive a drought. You need a hope that can survive a famine. That is what God is giving you right now. He is giving you the gift of the reserve. Do not fear the silence. The silence is where God does His best work. In the silence of the tomb, Christ conquered death. In the silence of the womb, life is knit together. In the silence of your waiting, a new creature is being formed. A creature of power. A creature of light. A creature who knows how to wait on the Lord. Therefore, dearly beloved brethren, let us cheerfully do all things that lie in our power. And then may we stand still with the utmost assurance to see the salvation of God and for His arm to be revealed. Stand still. The arm is moving. The dawn is breaking. The wait is the way.